Hi there, BookTube. Today I'm here with my July wrap-up, part 1. I decided to split up my July wrap-up into 2 videos simply because I read so many books. I read some in print and then I listened to some on audio. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the books that I read in print. There were 6 books that I read, and I enjoyed most of them. Not all, but most. I'll talk about the ebooks that I read first, and the first of those was called Unbreak Me by Lexi Ryan. I got this for free on Amazon, and it looked like a decent new adult romance, and I like new adult. I know it's a little more graphic in terms of sex than young adult, but you know, I'm a grown-up. I don't mind that. And so I was not happy with this book at all. I only gave it 2 stars. Now, I know Lexi Ryan is an established writer, but this book just tackled way too many issues, and I don't mind that whole genre and what it entails, but I do have my limits, and this kind of crossed some of those. More than that, though, I just didn't feel like it was very well written, and it's gotten just huge reviews that are all, like through the stratosphere, and I don't really understand that. Here's a list of what it tackled. Statutory rape, which the main character, Maggie, she was taken advantage of by an adult. Actually, it was a sheriff, so when she was about 16, and it was just inappropriate and obviously against the law. Unwanted pregnancy, illegal assault resulting in jail time and or probation, cheating, people who were married and cheating on their partner, or in a relationship and cheating on the other person in the relationship, and alcoholism and addiction. Okay, that's just way too many issues to tackle in one novel. The main character is not a young innocent. She's kind of a social pariah in her town, and there's a bit of a love triangle going on. I don't know that I would really call it that, simply because the protagonist, Maggie, is not conflicted about who she wants. She's conflicted about whether she wants anybody, and there are a lot of self-worth issues with her. So I understand why people really liked it, but I just thought it was too much. It was just too much. Not for me. The next ebook I read was called Blue Hearts of Mars. It's by Nicole Grotepas. I liked this book a lot. I think that it was kind of choppy, but I rated it pretty highly because I think the story was wonderful. It is, the themes in this book are kind of civil rights, and the whole idea that prejudice and racial bias is just wrong. But it is in a setting that is so interesting. It's a dystopian where the human race have gone to Mars and terraformed or colonized it. Those who terraformed Mars, for those of us who lived on Earth, were androids, because they could withstand the conditions on Mars to build and do those sorts of things. So now that Mars has been terraformed, the androids have become this huge population, and they are sentient, and they are in many ways impossible to distinguish from humans. And so the 2 main characters are Retta, who lives in, I think it's New Helsinki, and then a boy that she meets named Hemingway, but he is an android. And so the androids on Mars are called blue hearts because they are reported to have blue hearts and blue blood. And you come to find out this is really not the case. And then the book becomes all about Retta becoming convinced that this is just wrong, the way that humans view the androids and the way that the androids are being treated. And so it kind of becomes a story about that. It's an excellent story. The themes are amazing. I think it was choppy in the writing, but I forgave a lot of that simply because it was just such a good story. So I really recommend that book. The other ebook that I read was called Under the Light by Laura Whitcomb. I'm a huge fan of Laura Whitcomb because I read A Certain Slant of Light, completely fell in love. I had read The Fetch in print, which I'll get to in a minute, but when I realized that I had not read any more of her books, then I looked for some, and I found that she had done a companion novel to A Certain Slant of Light, and it was called Under the Light. It involves two of the characters from A Certain Slant of Light. I will quickly explain that A Certain Slant of Light, the original novel, is about two ghosts who inhabit the bodies of two teenagers. So the companion novel, Under the Light, that I read as an ebook, is about those two teenagers. What happened to them while their bodies were being inhabited, and then what happens to them when they have to come back into their bodies and deal with the consequences of these ghosts having inhabited their bodies. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It deals with so many great issues. It's just beautifully written. I loved the characters. I rated it really highly. I really enjoyed it. The books that I read in actual print were The Eternal Ones by Kirstin Miller. I didn't expect to like this nearly as much as I did. It's about reincarnation, and I really enjoyed the story. It follows Haven. She lives in Tennessee in a small town, which she cannot wait until she escapes. There are some mysteries concerning her life there, and she sees a guy on television and feels inexplicably drawn to him. His name is Ian Morrow, and she can't understand why that is. And she ends up running away from her town. Just she's had it. Something happens. And so she goes to New York and finds him, and he recognizes her immediately and says, "There you are, I've been looking for you." So then, it becomes this big mystery as to how he knows her, why he knows her, why they feel the way they do, and this society and the politics and the mysteries within the society and the secrets. It's just really, really a good read, and I recommend it. I was able to pick up the sequel yesterday, and I'm excited to get into that. I don't believe it's available on audio, but I did find it in print, and so yeah. I read Immortal City as part of the BookTube-a-thon, and it's by Scott Speer, and I loved this book. It's a whole new take on angels. The guardian angels in this book they had an agreement with the United States and probably other countries around the time of the 20s or 30s, in which they decided that they would protect humans, but for a price. So as a result, the guardian angels have become huge, rich celebrities in Hollywood, and everyone, they treat them like we treat our celebrities. There are gossip magazines and television shows and television networks even devoted to the following of angels. The protagonist is Jackson Godspeed. He comes from a family where his stepfather is very high up in the angel government, and he's about to graduate to become a guardian. He's been through training, and then this is the next step, and he'll become a guardian and be assigned people that he needs to protect. Well, he's at a party one night, kind of a red carpet event that's a prequel to, it's leading up to his ceremony, and he has to get out of there. And so he drives away and goes to a diner where we meet Maddie. Maddie is kind of the poor girl who is working her way through high school. She hopes to get a scholarship. There's not a lot of money. She doesn't have parents. She's an orphan. She's living with her uncle who owns this diner, and she works there to help him out. I liked her a lot. It then becomes the story of her relationship with Jackson and whether that's appropriate or not. And then there is an adventure and a mystery and a lot of things. It was unpredictable, and I didn't expect the bad guy to be the bad guy. So there is a sequel, and I'm looking forward to reading that. I found it on an ebook. This is not available on audio. And I really hope Scott Speer continues with this series because it's really good. And the last book I read was The Fetch by Laura Whitcomb. Like I said, I love Laura Whitcomb, and I had picked this up at my closeout store and picked it up to kind of see what it was about and got into it and couldn't put it down. It was that good. It's a story about a fetch. Fetch is a host that escorts people from the moment of their death into the afterlife. And this is about Calder. Calder is a fetch, and he falls in love with the Empress of Russia. She's a Romanov, part of the Romanov family that was assassinated in the Russian Revolution. And he falls in love with her, and so he steps away from the world of being a fetch and breaks some rules, and then it becomes his adventure of kind of stepping out of there and what happens once he does and the consequences of that. And it is a wonderful, wonderful story. It's beautifully written. It's set against the backdrop of the Russian Revolution, but it's also about that time period because it is a trip around the world. So you don't just see Russia, you see Asia, you see the Americas, you see Europe, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful book, and I highly recommend it. So those were my books in print for July. I'll be back with the books that I listen to on audio and also my August TBR. So until then, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.